Here we are, live, back again for another episode of the Tribunal. How you doing, sis?
Hi.
It's been a week. It's been a few weeks since we've done one of these, but it's been a week.
It's been a solid week.
Yeah, I am definitely excited to have this conversation today. Glad to be back in it. We've been doing a bunch of things on the channel. This is actually our first tribunal on our new home, Twitch, because the last time we were doing these, we were on Mixer, which was going to be our home, and then
we had to move.
we had to move. We definitely had to move.
And we had two choices too. We could have moved this to Facebook Live, or
Right.
we could have done this on YouTube Live,
Right.
or Twitch.
Right.
And we weighed our pros and our cons on both sides, and we both came kind of to the unanimous assumption or decision to just make the switch to Twitch.
Yeah. Basically, we looked at what made the most sense for us. Ultimately, we want this to be a community that grows. We want this to be a channel that, we can bring more guests in. We can put all different kinds of content out. And we already have a space on Facebook. And really what we want to do with our Facebook community is really have conversations about the content that we're making. It's not easy to have a conversation really and deeply in YouTube, right? Like, that's not what YouTube comments are for. That's not what YouTube comments are for.
That's
we
true.
know that that's not what YouTube comments are for.
So why even?
And so it doesn't make sense to do that. Now, YouTube, is supposedly putting some things in place to make things better on their platform, but it's still not the place that you go to have a real conversation, right? It's like, these are my thoughts and I'm out. And so Facebook really does give us the ability to have a conversation. That's why if you visit our Facebook page, you can see the links to our socials down there at the bottom. You can find us at Black and Pat on pretty much everything. But if you go to our Facebook page, that's where really we can have a conversation. That's where we're going to be sharing articles from our website. And yes, you can comment on our website. We have turned that on. But we know that, like, where most people are getting their news and sharing their news is on Facebook. And Facebook really isn't the place for us to have a podcast.
No,
live.
It's absolutely not. You're right.
It didn't make sense. And we looked at some of our friends in the industry that are doing, shows like this and where they're hosting them. And primarily they're doing them on Twitch or they're doing them on YouTube. So we decided we're going to let Facebook be the thing that Facebook is good for, which is water cooler conversation. And so then, fix your feed. I have water cooler conversations on my Facebook.
I get a lot of pictures of Cats Against Capitalism, which is a great group. If you're not a part of it, I enjoy that. That's a great group. Yeah. A lot of comrades, a lot of beautiful, fuzzy comrades in there.
I've seen Cat Lovers Against White Supremacy as well, Claws.
Claws.
More power to you. But ultimately, we went back and forth and looking at all the platforms and it made more sense for us to do the podcast here on Twitch really than any place else. Now, that's not to say that you're not going to find content from us in all those other places. We are spinning up more articles for the website. We are coming up with and putting more content on YouTube. So all of our VODs from Twitch are going to be on our YouTube channel. So the Tribunal archive will always be there. So you'll be able to find it on YouTube. We'll be sharing those on our website. We'll be taking clips from the Let's Play videos that we do here on Twitch, as well as I'm very excited to announce that starting this week, on Wednesday nights, you'll be able to join me from 7 to 9 or 7 to 8-ish. It just depends on the vibe, like what we're going for. But we're just going to have like a conversation. Consider it like a coffee talk.
Is it like a Wednesday wine time?
It could be. It could be the Wednesday wind down. I don't know what we're going to end up calling it. But it really is just going to be kind of a conversation, talking about, what's happening in the news and happening around the space, and just sharing some thoughts that, are going on in my head. And, maybe we'll do some reaction things, but it's just going to be, a gather time on Wednesday nights here. So you can join me on the stream and, be part of that conversation. We'll have some good times. Who knows? Maybe we'll play a little music. I mean, we don't know. We don't know what it's going to be. But the Wednesday wind down, I think I'm going to call it that because I like Wednesday wind down. So thanks for that, sis.
You're welcome. I won't trademark it. You can have it.
I mean, it's our thing. So if you do, you just be trademarking it for us.
Right.
But we've got some ideas and some things that we want to do. And really, it is, at the end of the day, about building community. And we think that the best place for us to be able to do that is going to be here on Twitch. So that's what we're doing. We're doing this here on Twitch, and then you'll find all of our stuff every place else. And, who knows? Hopefully we won't have to move the home of the podcast again. But I don't think Twitch is going anywhere.
I don't think so either. I think it's a juggernaut now.
I think at this point it's pretty embedded.
And obviously, if you don't know, every Friday until I finish it, on Fridays from 7 to 9, maybe 7 to 10, depending on if I got the energy or if I hit a certain plot point, you can catch me Let's Playing The Last of Us Part 2. The first one did not save to Twitch, so if you jump onto it now, you'll see the second one, which I did last Friday. But yeah, that's a fun time. You can come sit and watch me fail at stealthing. And you can sit and watch me react to what's happening in the game.
I mean, you didn't fail that bad. I've seen worse.
That beginning 4 minutes during the horde run last week
was painful. It was painful.
I felt bad about that. I'm like, I am better than this. I don't know why.
Yeah, you actually said that out loud.
Yeah,
a couple of times in the stream.
I know, because it's true, and I'm holding myself accountable to my gaming skills. But yes, so you could see Roe on Wednesdays, you could see me on Fridays, and who knows, eventually we might even have something, maybe even on a Monday. Maybe Amanda chat on Monday, where I just kind of pop in and say, hey, it's Monday. How's your Monday?
This as we go. That's what we're
feeling around. We're getting used to our surroundings in our new home, in our new environment.
Because this is all still very new for us. We were audio chicks. Not
for the longest time.
For 13 years. That's a long time.
That's a teenager.
I mean, basically.
That's a snooty, questioning everything teenager. That's not even like one that's got its shit together. That is an upstart. So, a cocky little upstart.
Basically what we're saying is we're starting to build our schedule now. Now that we've got a home and we've kind of figured, some things out. We are building our content schedule. So you'll be able to find us here on Twitch right now, definitely on Mondays and Fridays from 7 to 9, whether it's the wind down.
Wednesdays and Fridays, not Mondays.
Did I say Mondays?
You said Monday.
I meant to say Wednesdays and Fridays. Wednesdays and Fridays, 7 to 9, here on Twitch. It's a date. We'll be
either
here,
of us or both of us.
Exactly. And then every other Sunday, we'll have a tribunal.
So there's your content for now.
Boom. Those are all the major updates for us so far.
Well, I mean, as is tradition for us, I think we need to go down tangent corner for a hot moment before we actually get into the meat and potatoes of our show today. Because this show was meant to go off last Sunday, but that didn't happen.
Was it last Sunday or was it the Sunday before?
It was the Sunday before.
Yeah.
That would have been a tribunal, but then I decided to live stream instead. A lot's gone on since the last time that we got together to have our tribunal, like a lot.
True.
At the time that this topic was going to be discussed, one of the big tangenty things I wanted to talk about was several, I want to call them A-listers, but I'm sure they're probably, I guess Kristen Bell's probably more of an A-list actress now. But
we don't even need to characterize it. We just had a lot of actors and we had a lot of
actors come out and step down from roles that they've been doing for a while because they've been voicing, characters of color. And I think it was Kristen Bell, Jenny Slate, and Mike Henry. So if you don't know, Jenny Slate played Missy on Big Mouth.
Yep.
Kristen Bell played a character on a show called Central Square, which I've never seen, but I guess it's on a streaming system, a streaming service. A
Is it
lot of
Central
people.
Square or Central Park?
Central Park, sorry, but it's still on a platform that I don't think a lot of people have and or use. So I didn't even know that show existed. So I feel kind of bad about it because one, I love Kristen Bell, and I mean Mike
I
Henry's
feel
been,
like it's on Hulu.
but I think it started on like another service. I
It
think it's
probably
like
did. I can't keep up with all of them, to be honest with you.
but anyway, and Mike Henry played Cleveland from, oh God, I know the
Family
Cleveland
Guy
show,
and
the
the
Family
Cleveland
Guy.
Show. Mm-hmm.
And he did that for 20 years. And first, Jenny Slate came out with this beautiful, notice of her doing this of her own volition. Like, she wasn't forced out. But she just made it a point that, these characters of color should be voiced by people of color. So she didn't feel right in the space anymore. Now, granted, the great thing about Missy is that Missy was also Jewish, which Jenny Slate is. So like she felt there was a gray area for her, which I don't have any problems with. And a lot of people didn't. I think she did a really great job. But I'm also very humbled that she was like, no, this is the right thing to do. And I mean, Kristen Bell has always been an activist about doing the right thing. Like, she's always been kind of one of those voices that you hear when stuff goes down. So, like I said, I wish I had watched this show because one, I don't have a lot of context to it. So I don't know if I heard it and been like, oh, that doesn't sound like a person of color that I would know. But I'm glad that, she was like, nope, I'm willing to step down from this too, because this is the right thing to do. And I mean, I think Mike Henry, his was also fairly nice, but at the same time, he did pseudo gloat that he's been, Cleveland for 20 years. So it's like, yeah, you were just getting the royalties off of that, dude. Like, you were just coming in, doing your lines, and like, you're able to walk off in the sunset, no big whoop. Right?
Well, I think it takes a bigger conversation to be had, right? Like, we have been watching animation and cartoons all of our lives, right? The two of us specifically.
Yes.
Whether it's, anime, both Western and Eastern, or various cartoons, we saw the creation of Cartoon Network and Adult Swim and the boom of animation, and then that resurgence that really happened in prime time on Fox, right? With the Seth MacFarlane series,
Power Hour,
basically. It was
MacFarlane,
Matt Groening and Seth MacFarlane, right?
Yeah.
And you look at that, and on the one hand, right, there's, oh my gosh, it's so great that there are so many opportunities out there for voice actors to be working, right? Because we all know that is a grind, and that is a very difficult industry to, crack into. But once you get in and, you prove that you can do it, there's always work, and it is a bit more comfortable, especially when you get into a series, than, necessarily stage blocking out work, right? You can come in, work in a booth, work your lines, work your character, make your money, and,
bounce to the next
bounce
project.
out, right?
Yeah.
But with that being said, there's still not a lot of diversity within that group, right? Like, whether it's in games or even in TV shows, there are certain, people that, like, if I say, okay, name a voice actor in gaming, you can probably rattle off like a good
Nolan
3 or 4.
North, Troy Baker, Claudia Black, Laura Bailey. Granted, Laura Bailey did anime first.
Yes, she did. For Funimation, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, she was in the Funimation house. But that's what I mean. Like, there's this, good core group of
Crispin Freeman.
Sorry, yeah, right. I mean, Cree Summer, right? Like
Right.
there are those mainstays, the go-to that you know are going to be fantastic, and everybody knows them in the industry for being able to bring it, right?
Right.
You know, your super A-listers on voice acting.
Well, I think they all have incredible range. I think
Yeah,
that's
they
what's
do.
very
They have
exciting to
incredible
tell.
range. They can really, you know, bring life to a character. Phil Lamar, right? Like you start
Heck yeah.
naming names, Joe DiMaggio. Like I can start picking up names, Billy West, and all those. But as I start coming through those and listing off those names, there's not a lot of diversity within those.
Well, I mean, I think you mentioned two.
Cree Summer and Phil Lamar,
Yeah, of
and
color.
I'm like pulling myself to be like, there's got to be more.
Right. But here's the thing. I think if there are some, I have a hard time pulling their names out. And then at the same time, there's probably even a good chance that they might not even get a name title in something that they're doing. They might be
Correct.
one of those many additional voices that we'll never be able to distinguish from the other additional voices that are in there. And don't get me wrong, a lot of A-list voice actors will also sometimes do other
Mm-hmm.
additional voices as well
Right.
in series. So like it's not like a down mark.
Right.
Do it.
At all. But now
Work is work, yo.
exactly, like I'm not against anybody secure in the bag, okay?
Get the
Secure
bag.
the
Get it.
bag. But we have seen, I think, especially in the last, I want to say 4 to 5 years, more of the traditional screen actors getting into the voice side. And that's skewing a little bit the voice acting world because now you have this bankable screen name working in this space. You know, you have more Sir Patrick Stewart's and
Right.
Jenny Slate's and, you know, people from screen and theater going, hey, this voice acting thing, like this is actually a pretty good gig. And
Well, you
I have
jumping in on the mix too, like
a ton.
Benjamin. Oh God, the guy from Bob's Burgers who has a very unique voice. So clearly, whenever you hear him, you know
H. John,
Benjamin H.
yeah,
John. Yeah,
yeah,
so
right.
like
Like you have all of these people coming through, and so you have to then, and I give credit to both Kristen Bell and Jenny Slate of going, hey, I am aware that this space right now does not actually have a lot of diversity within it. You know, it's a big deal that I'm even in this space, right?
right.
And so for me to now be voicing a character that is a character of color and it not have the opportunity to be voiced by and played by somebody that is of color, I actually can make a choice here and say I'm going to make space for somebody else.
It is so heartwarming. Like, and I mean, and don't get me wrong, like I feel like I'm about to devil's advocate this tangent for a hot moment because I mean, all of this is well and good. The small ripples of change are falling into that pond, and that rippling is happening, and it's great. But right now, these ripples are very much, we're like treating the symptoms. We're not treating the disease.
Mm-hmm.
Like, as well as great as it is that, you know, Band-Aid has finally decided to make, oh, I don't know, dark colored Band-Aids, because not everybody is like white or clear. Like, yeah, I love the fact that I now have a Band-Aid that I could put on my arm and then no
Flesh color comes in multiple shades. So I'm saying.
So, but you know what, Band-Aid? I mean, you've had a lot of time to figure this out. So you decide to do that now.
Like, so
You're a little
much
late to the party, but I'm kind of glad you came. Thanks for coming. Thanks for RSVPing so late, but at least you here. Hello.
I mean, look, fashionably late.
I
That's
mean,
what happened.
Corolla's been very quiet because, you know, for the last few years,
Hey,
Corolla.
Crayola hasn't been quiet. They came out with the whole 64 crayon pack of.
But I know for a fact 2 years ago for a Christmas present, I actually found a marker kit with skin tones, and it says multicultural skin tones on it, Crayola, and all those the shades from like alabaster white to like, you know, dark chocolate. Not that I want to use food because that has its own stigma, but you know what I mean. And I mean, I purposely made sure to put that in one of my presents for Christmas. I mean, I also put Santa tags that had Black Santas.
I do remember your Black Christmas. It was a good year.
It was a great year, but I was just like, look at Corolla. Like, Thank you, Corolla. But I mean, these are
You mean
all still
Crayola? I'm just
Corolla.
saying. I know. I'm like, what are you
Color my
doing with
car
this
in.
Toyota? Like, what?
Regardless, these are small and impactful and felt. However, there are much bigger chunks to this elephant that we should be addressing more so than
Agreed.
band-aids and markers.
Agreed. 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 But I do think that you bring up a good point in that, they are seen and felt and
And
appreciated.
appreciate it. Absolutely.
And
Not
I
discrediting that at all.
absolutely. And I don't, I just want to, I say that, I think that it's fantastic that, more and more people are recognizing, hey, there's a bit of privilege here. And I'm going to own the fact that there's privilege here, regardless of whose privilege it is, right?
Right.
But there's a bit of privilege here. I acknowledge that it's here. And I am actually going to take the responsibility of educating myself or inviting more people to the room, to the table, or making space for others. And I think that's the foundation of us gaining understanding, and then the understanding is what leads to the path forward, right? For
Right.
everybody. Okay. Not just marginally people of my shade, but everybody. Because just like there are characters in anime and in video games that are voiced by people that don't look like the character, that's not just with Black people. That's with
very true.
Asian folks. That's with Hispanic folks and Latinx peoples. Like, there are many people that the voiceover actor doesn't have a lot in common with the character that they're playing. And not to say that that has to happen, but I do think that there's some things that are more informed and more nuance that comes through sometimes in how things are delivered.
Agreed.
When there is an understanding of the culture that that character comes from.
Absolutely.
And so that's to say that there's value add.
Yes.
And like you said, that Jenny did a great job. I love Big Mouth. I thought that she did
Big Mouth is so great. If you're not watching it, you should.
Okay.
Be prepared for a lot of stuff though, but
yeah, like lots of laughs, but also like, ooh, we're gonna touch on the feels just a little bit. And I think
they knew how to sew that in just enough.
And I love Jenny Slate's voice because it is so unique, and for that character, it's great for that character.
I agree.
I respect her saying, hey, actually, as I look at this, I need to make space for somebody else. Just like Hank Azaria going, you know what? Yeah, I get it. I get what people are like, me and what I'm doing with the voice for Apu on The Simpsons, not cool. So I'm out. I'm actually out because I get it. I get it. I get it. And I think that's what I'm really glad to see and be hearing over the last few weeks is like, okay, I'm starting to get it. Okay, I can see why
that red line of fate. It's very vibrant right now. I'm following this line. I'm gonna go this way now.
So I encourage everyone to continue to have the conversations and to hold people accountable and to be looking at for what we consume. Does this actually align with what we want actually to be entertained by? And that's the biggest thing the biggest thing behind really us creating this channel and wanting to have these conversations is that, we realize we consume a whole lot of entertainment, like just the two of us.
I mean,
there's a lot of movies and TV shows and anime and manga and graphic novels.
I haven't read a decent manga in years, but I also haven't really read either,
right? But we consume a lot, and in looking at what we consume and what we were hyper focused on when we were doing Ash, which was anime and video games with a sasu of manga and a hint of tech, right?
When we got it.
And looking at all of that and all the things that we were consuming, like it just started to get really, really same song, just a new verse, right?
Right.
Like, okay, so this game is coming out. Guess what? I'm going to play cis white dude and somebody did something to my woman, or threatened to do something to my woman or my town,
Or
or
was my woman and
was my
betrayed me.
woman and betrayed me, and now I'm out for vengeance and with my trusty insert weapon and
And
insert
my
sidekick.
3 boys that I'll randomly find that will all bond over the exact same purpose
You know,
magically.
my sword, my shotgun, my whatever, and then my
And my
plucky
dog.
comic.
Don't forget my dog. Dog's
Right. Well,
coming.
sometimes your dog, sometimes plucky comic relief
Right.
that was in shade of not me with heavy accent in one way or another,
True. You're right.
or
You're right.
slang usage in order to reach a wider demographic. And that just got really tiring.
Agreed.
And so that's why we're
That's why we're here.
talk about,
That's why we're
spring
here.
and all that good stuff. But I do think that that's, interesting, and I'm glad that you brought that up because, I had heard about the Jenny Slate one. I hadn't heard about the Kristen Bell one.
I think hers came out a week after Jenny Slate's did. Jenny's was the one that everyone was like, "Have you read this?" Ugh. And then soon after, Kristen Bell came out, and then I want to say maybe a couple of weeks, maybe 2 or 3 weeks after that, I found the article that talked about Mike Henry stepping down from Cleveland.
See, because of my job, I'm much more attuned to the high-level exec and or CEO who
Right, you're
opens
like
mouth
top
and
level
insert foot
stuff.
and now doesn't have a job because they let racist things out their mouth. So I'm on the other end of the spectrum because of my day job. So it's very rare that I get to pick up like those kinds of stories. So, I appreciate you sharing that because that's a good one. And I do think that, more and more, especially in the entertainment that we consume, there seems to be more empowerment, especially coming on the behalf of women in the industry to speak up, speak out, speak against, or
And
speak for.
often. Speak often.
We'll speak more often now. I was reading an article about Tandy Newton, who had turned down a role in the Charlie's Angels reboot. So remember the one with Lucy Liu and Cameron Diaz and all that kind of stuff. And she was, sharing the story about, being pitched this piece, which would have been a huge role for her because this is, before Westworld and all that kind of stuff. And so she was, it was after Truth About Charlie.
I think she was slowly ascending, but like she hadn't broken out yet.
Well, she was really on the other end of it because like she had just come out of like Truth About Charlie, which like some people liked and some people didn't. I thought it was good, but it wasn't really a big blockbuster. So she was kind of on the not getting the first call about roles in Hollywood level of her career. So simmer. So this would have been like
right. Well, yeah. Yeah, for sure.
As opposed to what Westworld was for her.
Yeah. Chef's kiss. Westworld.
But she's, relaying the story, and I was taken aback by her account, especially because the producer that was pitching her was a woman, right? And I think a lot of times, especially as a woman, I always assume positively when I go into a meeting where the authority figure is a woman that the situation is going to be different. Not necessarily better.
Okay.
It's going to be different.
As you see, my just like,
I saw you be like, no, not better. I always assume that it's going to be different. And it's either going to be an environment where right off the get-go, I'm made to feel super secure and welcome and the space is open, or right off the get-go, I'm made to feel like I absolutely need to prove my right to be there.
Because the woman who's in front of you proved herself, so...
I don't make any assumptions. This is the experience that I have.
Okay.
That it's one of these two environments.
All right. I don't have that kind of experience, so I cannot talk to it.
And what I have found as I was, reading through her account of basically this woman starts explaining how they're going to get across that this character that she's playing is, the real deal and all this kind of stuff. And she's like, so the way that we're going to have it open is that like you're going to be up on a bar, shaking your ass, doing your thing, like doing that twerk thing. She's right. And Shandy's like, okay, but why would I do that? And she's like, just to get across that, like, you don't take no shit and, like, you're badass. And I was like,
What about being on a bar makes people think that that she don't take no shit?
right. I'm
Like,
like,
why couldn't it start with like her kicking somebody's like ass out of a bathroom?
right.
Like,
And then she's like, and I'm so excited. And the producer literally is like, as Tandy recounts, she's like, and I'm so excited about this shot because what we're gonna do is we're gonna pan up your body, and she was gonna be in this leather suit,
ah,
and wait, right, and it had
I'm
like yellow
uncomfortable.
stitching, and the way that they were coming up her body, that people were gonna think that the yellow stitching was a road because it was gonna be that tight, but then when they pulled out, it was gonna be revealed that that was her ass, and I was just like, wow. I literally out loud was like, wow.
My
At which point he was like, I don't think so. She goes, but she then proceeds to explain this character to me in every stereotype that I've seen portrayed
already.
black people on the screen. She's like, and I just wasn't for it. So I was like, I actually can't do this, and walked
Sorry,
away.
hard pass.
And I give Tandy a lot of credit for that because it's hard to walk away from an opportunity. It's hard to
Especially
walk
one
away.
that would have put her in front of a lot of people, would have made a lot of bank. I mean, those movies did make a lot of money.
Okay,
And a horrible sequel. But
Yeah,
that's
I
neither here
didn't
nor
watch the
there.
sequel, but like,
Don't.
it for those women, it brought back, the ability to see them in roles of action and being, still viable actors. Because
Yes,
in
but that movie did fail the Bechdel test in both the original and the sequel.
But here's the thing. You know what? I don't use that as my barometer of like a good movie or a bad movie.
No, I mean, I enjoy
Right.
that movie when it's on HBO. I will
Right.
watch it. Like,
Yes.
it is a pleasure. I don't even want to say guilty anymore because I like it and I'm not ashamed that I like it.
Like the first movie, it's a good action comedy, and that's what it was
Agreed.
supposed to be, right? But I do think that it is important to, know that, we've really only seen in the last decade some of the sensibilities about starring roles and what the role of women in Hollywood and entertainment, as far as what audiences will quote unquote accept and what marketing can quote unquote sell.
Mm-hmm.
The acceptances change, right? Like, Helen Mirren is a badass.
My God,
She
Helen
is
Mirren.
beloved.
Helen Mirren.
But Helen
Coming
Mirren,
on to me is Dame Helen Mirren.
but Helen Mirren wasn't on big screens for a long period of time. Like, she's been in the industry since the late 60s, early 70s. I won't mention the first thing that I ever saw Helen Mirren in because it's not really a proud one to mention, but
Okay. I'm sure she knows.
and she looked amazing. But to have a career and to be in Reds and things like that, is something that in the 90s there was no gray-haired women in action movies.
No.
Nope. Unless they were, the person that the car almost hit during the chase in the crosswalk, and then we moved on. So sensibilities definitely have changed, and I think that that's really good. And I think a piece of that is more and more established actors and actresses using their voice and feeling empowered to do so now, and not fearing a backlash of I'll never work in the industry again if I say the actual truth of what's happening. And so I guess what I want to get to is I'm really glad that more people on all sides, all facets of the diamond are feeling more empowered, that they have more support, because I think that then opens everything up for better storytelling and more diverse storytelling, richer experiences that consumers actually want. Because I don't want the same movie made over again. Please, Hollywood, I don't want the same movie just made over again with younger people. Okay, so stop.
Oh, you mean like how we're Getting Princess Bride with Sophie Turner and her husband Joe Jonas? That That got greenlit? That's happening?
Stop. I don't need it. It's already done. It's already perfect.
We already had a perfect film.
Okay, we already have
It'd be a pity to damage this one.
Okay. All
Just
right.
Stop.
Just stop. Just stop. Don't do it. Just don't.
Stop. You're making me uncomfortable. Stop.
But we do have a topic that we're supposed to be talking about today, and this
I think this kind of slowly segues into our topic. So our main
really roundaboutly, but yeah.
I mean, it's like a thin veil, like a chiffon veil over the box of the main topic today, which is Heroes Like Me or Heroes for Me, where Sis and I are going to talk to you guys about our heroes, our inspirations in several of our favorite medias.
Yes.
And I mean, I don't think you'll be surprised about a chunk of them.
You really shouldn't be surprised about mine.
I mean, yeah, hers definitely not. And I mean,
really
I will be very happy if people know mine.
I would be surprised if like anyone around your age doesn't know yours.
Well, this is gonna be the test, right? To see like who was watching, who was paying attention, and who wasn't. So, do you want me to go first? Because I don't have a problem. Or do you? You put a lot more.
I have so much to say.
So you know what? The floor is yours, ma'am. The floor is yours.
So this one is really interesting. I've been looking forward to starting this conversation because it really was like the first thing when we sat down to talk about what we wanted to talk about on Black Compat, like what we could talk about if we were going to do this thing. This was one of the first ones that popped up out of my mouth. It was an idea of doing a series really focusing on heroes that look like me, right? Because, like I said, we've consumed all different kinds of medium and movies and TV shows
and art,
novels
and literature.
You know, I've read so many young adult series when I was a kid, and some of those got turned into absolutely because so before there was the internet, the only way you could get your own entertainment in school was the book fair. And so whenever the book fair happened,
I remember Scholastic. Get that $5, get that book.
Okay, what's up?
Read a book.
I used to save up all of my allowance for the book fair because that's where I bought all my Goosebumps and my R.L. Stein, like everything. It's
which
where
I then inherited after. I got most of your street books.
Yeah, my choose your own adventure books. Like those were the places where I was able to get exposed to sci-fi, and I would come home with like 10 or 15 books, and that was it. Like my entire summer, all I did was run through all of my books. So I was the nerd that was really excited to do book reports over what I did and what I read over the summer because I would have like 6 of them stacked by the first day of school.
Which one will be my first book report?
Bitch. This one. So I've been exposed to lots and lots and lots of different heroes, but the one that really stuck out for me and where I can really kind of like, if I am to claim my nerd flag, what I would put it down on was we got a huge Toys R Us next to our big mall when I was about.
It was our big mall, and now it's our bougie mall. Yeah. They bouged it up.
But it happens. That's what happens when Simon comes to your town. They're like, and now we bougie. And now you can have an Apple store. But we had one of the old school like Toys R Us's that had like no windows and it was all brown and it had a Jeffrey giraffe and it got remodeled. And when it got remodeled, they made it even bigger. But one of the things that they did was
made it white. It was a big white brick building.
Well, that was the second remodel. So
that's the one I remember.
Yeah. The first remodel, it was colorful as hell and it had a massive Jeffrey outside. He wasn't on top of the building anymore. But they made the building larger and they had a comic section. And so this is the first time that I had ever been exposed to comic books. So that had to have been, I was about 9 or 10 when that happened. And so our ritual every Saturday is that we would do grocery shopping. And on the way back from grocery shopping, if we behaved, we got to stop at Toys R Us. And depending upon like what budget was and like how really well behaved we were.
Yeah, like none of this B minus behavior. You had to be like A plus good.
Like we made no noises, touched no things that we were.
Amanda did not steal cheese from the deli counter.
Amanda didn't steal cheese and or Reese's peanut butter cups from the checkout line. Yeah. All kinds of things. That all happened. We got to get something from Toys R Us, which, you know, would have been a toy. But the first time after the remodel, I went in and I was just like exploring the whole store because it was massive. And I came across the aisle that basically became my life because on one side it was all comic books and then on the other side it was all video games for all the systems. And they had demo TurboGrafx 16, not TurboGrafx 16 first. They had SNES and NES and Sega Master System. And eventually they would have a Neo Geo system. And so like that was just like the only way I was ever going to get my hands on it.
I think the last time I remember the setup that way, I think was when I keep messing up my systems, but there was a gesture game and I think it was for the Sega Saturn.
So no, you're thinking of Knights and that was for Sega Saturn CD.
Okay. But it was still set up that way when that was there because I remember when we walked in, me much older at this point.
Yeah, you would like, just make a beeline to go play Knights.
I wanted to play Knights so effing bad and then never got it.
Nope. Nope.
I was so about Knights. Oh, like, I can't wait to get this. And then that never happened.
So far ahead of themselves. But I went down the aisle and it was just like I was in information overload because I didn't even really know that comic books existed. Like there wasn't in my world. There was nobody around me that read comic books. So I didn't know that they were a thing. And I remember just like looking up at all of these tiny little books and that were so colorful and there were these amazing characters and then I gravitated towards one and fell in love. And I didn't realize it then. I only realized it when I got older as to why, but it was a copy of the Uncanny X-Men and it had the whole team on the front. And on the team was Wolverine and Jean Grey and Forge, who I didn't know who the hell that was, and Storm. And I was like, I need that in my life. I just want this, like right now. So for those of you who are not aware, Forge, one, X-Men is a Marvel comic property, spans multiple books across the universe. There's so many different mutants. But Forge and Storm are two prominent African American characters in the book. And I had never seen anything like that had two black people on it.
You can have two of them in the same space and it won't explode?
Sci-fis were always, alien races or humans and fighting them, and typically the humans didn't look like me. So this was the first time that like I'd seen in a futuristic space people that look like me in a book, So I was like, I gotta have that. So I took that home. I didn't know anything about comics, so I didn't know that it was like a continuing story from book to book. So like every week there was gonna be a new book and you need to get that. But of course, nerdtastic me was like, let's get down to this reading. And I just remember I took that book home and I think I read it like 4 or 5 times that night, just like going over the pages and learning how to read panels.
I was just about to ask because reading a comic book is very different from reading a book.
Yeah,
because the way that panels work and are structured. Yeah, like if you don't read it right, you will never fully understand what's happening.
And I didn't. So because like my first pass through, I was like, how do I read this? So I read things all in the wrong order and those kinds of things. I'm like, all right, well, I think I know what the story's supposed to be. So let me go back. And so I read it again. And so I taught myself like how I was supposed to read panels and, started giving people different voices. And I fell in love with the book. And so I was like, all right, well, when does the next one come out? And then I got to the last page. And so that's how I fell in love with serial writing. And, I believe that's how I fell in love with deep narrative. But really, I fell in love with Storm. Like, I was just so enamored with this character. And I was like, I need to know more about her. And of course, at this point, there's no internets that I have access to. So the only thing that
AOL hadn't become the internet yet.
Yeah, AOL, neither AOL, CompuServe, or any of those had yet to be the internet, nor had they reached my home, because for me to be 9, we're talking 1988. So,
yikes.
Yeah.
I was like 4 or 5.
The only way that I could learn more about this character was I had to get the comic books. And so, back page of the comic book always had, a bunch of ads and a way for you to subscribe, and like a lead off telling you that the story would continue in this next book. And sometimes it wasn't the same comic that the story was going to be continued, because you'd have to get, somebody else's book number 53, because that's where the story was going to pick up. And I just became enamored with it. And I was like, I needed to read these comic books. And the difficulty for me at first was that our mom believed that comic books were a thing for boys. So I had to fight being able to do this boy thing.
It seemed like that happened a lot in our house. Anything that we were remotely interested in. Like, at one point, I wanted to learn how to play drums. Nope.
Yeah, that was a boy thing.
That was a boy thing. I had to learn flute, which I did.
Bless your little heart.
Yep.
You got to learn
yeah,
an instrument. I was adamant about paying the drums, so I got no instrument.
Well, I learned to compromise. Then I tried to learn how to play alto sax. Not a good time. At one point, wanted to learn how to play the violin, but because we had an auntie who played violin, our mother had strong feelings about that.
Yes, and that was no.
That was a big, hard no.
Big, hard no.
Huge no.
Huge no.
But yeah, so
I should have offered violin and then countered with drums, and I might have had a chance.
Maybe. But yes, anything that seemed overtly masculine in any way was a hard no in our house.
Not so much overtly, but just things that like traditionally were pitched, I think, as socially acceptable, that men or boys did this as opposed to women did this. It was kind of like the rule in the house. And comic books was just one of them. Like, that was a thing for guys. That's what our mom believed. And that wasn't the case. And so I begged and I pleaded for like weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks. And finally it was, well, at least you're still reading. So, okay.
Yeah. Fine. Got to find that silver lining somewhere.
And I was allowed to get a subscription, but I could only subscribe to one comic. So, of course, it was going to be Uncanny X-Men. And because I needed to know more about this character of Storm. And so throughout my childhood, growing up in the 90s, I just became enamored with X-Men, everything X-Men. I went to the library. The library was a huge savior for me because comic books were kept in the library. And so I was able to go. I couldn't check them out. They didn't let comic books leave the building, but I could go after school and I could go on the weekends to the library and research. And that's what I did. And so I researched the first instances of when the character was created, when it started. And then I tried to find those books. But again, I didn't have any resources. I didn't have any to tell me that, like, oh, there's comic book stores in your town. You can go to the comic book store. And if there's certain books you're looking for, you can just go to the purveyor of the fine establishment and say, I want these books. Order them for me. Here's my money, good sir. But I didn't know any of that. And so I went to the library and I just started researching, this character Storm or Monroe. I mean, my hairstyle right now is inspired by Storm. It is my Storm punk look, to do my version of her mohawk that she does at one point in time. But the character was just so amazing to me because the way that Storm is created is that in the books, her backstory, her whole thing is that, she basically is a mutant. So she's a human that has mutated, has superpowers, and that she has the power to control the atmosphere and weather. In that, she's actually born of African royalty. So her mom was basically the leader of their tribe. And this photojournalist from America came to document the tribe.
Take some tasteful photos.
Well, no, because they're tribe community, so they weren't really tasteful. But he comes and he meets Ndare, and Ndare is Aurora Storm's mom. They fall in love. She fucking leaves the tribe and goes back with him to America, to Harlem.
I'm so sorry.
And that's where Aurora is born and gets her name. And then they traveled the world because, he's a photojournalist. And so they end up going to Egypt, and there's war and fighting break out, and there's this building that they're in. It's destroyed and it crumbles in on top of them, and it kills her parents, and she's buried along with her parents under the rubble. She's rescued, but she develops this horrible claustrophobia because of that. And so it was amazing to me in discovering, this hero who looked like me, who was my skin tone, with this amazing silver hair and just this gorgeous, like.
Now wait, did she have the silver hair from birth?
Yes. So the tribe is known. It's one of the characteristics of her tribe is having silver hair. Many of them have blue eyes and then have some kind of power or sorcery.
Okay.
And so that's not uncommon in her tribe at all.
Okay.
It's common.
Okay.
And so here's this like bombshell of a black woman that I had never seen before with all these powers, but at the same time, also this very relatable fear and flaw. She's claustrophobic, and I understand where that comes from. I have a terrible fear of bugs, and the two of us here know where that comes from, right? So
yeah.
Super relatable that you could be so strong and so powerful and yet also be so fragile. I loved that. And that came across in all of her stories. And so I just like doubled down. I was like, I'm going to know everything about this character. And so every book I could get my hands on, I had. Like I had her run of Uncanny X-Men through Dark Phoenix Saga. I had Avengers issues, because there's a time that Storm actually joins the Avengers.
Yep.
So I had some of those issues. I had issues of Excalibur. I had issues of Avengers. I had the original X-Men run. I had X-Men Gold, because they're within the comic world, as you may or may not be aware of. There are all different kinds of, anytime that there's success, people get spin-offs or other team. The X-Men, very much like the Justice League on the DC side, are made up of all these different mutants and all these different teams. So the X-Men eventually had like X-Men Gold, which Storm was the leader of that team, and then Blue, that's the team that Cyclops led. So that's where like a lot of people get confused, because depending upon which team you're talking about, Storm is the leader of the X-Men versus Cyclops. So all those people are like, Storm was never a leader of the X-Men. Back your roll up, because you're wrong. She's been leader like 7 different times across 8 different reboots. They did her whole backstory, because originally she was designed actually as a cat-like character. And so she was supposed to be like Black Cat.
I was about to say, because silver hair.
Literally Black Cat. And what had happened was the guy that was working on creating her and the story she was going to be in went on hiatus for a little bit. And when he came back, Marvel had already created Tigra, which was another female cat character. So they were like, well, shit, my Black Cat then is like redundant.
It's not going to work here. We got to reshop her now.
Like cat character, like we can't have 6 cat women characters.
I mean,
comic books.
I mean, it worked for the musical Cats.
But that's a musical, it's not comic book. So it was just like, okay. So he had this other character that was male called Typhoon that was going to be able to control like typhoons and rain and water. And so another illustrator suggested to the guy that created Storm, well, why don't you just make Typhoon female and use the look that you've created for this Black Cat character for that one instead? And so that's how Storm came to be. So I always liked that story of, you know, for me, that's why she seems so powerful, because like when you look at Storm, I have images because that's how we do, but like when you look like that X-Men Gold, it's not that cover, but it's a cover that's very similar. That was the one that I saw in the Toys R Us that I was like, I need to know more about that. Like, that's just badass across the way. And she's in front and just so powerful. And I find it interesting that, that comes from a character that was originally designed to be male, but then, retconned into being this female character, but not giving up any of her look or her power or her femininity. Like, even as strong as, Storm looks, whether it's the Uncanny cover over there on one side where she's got the amazing mohawk, or even moving to like some of the looks over the years. Like, many people probably recognize the image on the left from the era where the X-Men cartoons, who did that? I think it was Saban did those. I could be wrong. But those ran, in the early 90s. And for many people, like, as they look at the movies now, the voices and the stories, the way that the cartoons portray them, is what we expected in the movies, but these were extremely powerful images, for me to be looking at as a kid when I didn't have a whole lot of heroes that look like me. Most of the heroes that I was seeing on TV were in like G.I. Joe. And guess who's not represented in G.I. Joe?
I mean, there was a lady in there, though.
Scarlet.
The one who wore all black and was like evil.
No, that's the Countess.
I mean, but she was a woman.
Yeah, but she wasn't black. She didn't look like me.
True.
I sure as hell didn't have a figure like that.
I mean, you don't have Storm's figure either.
I know, but at least Storm looked like me in that I could see myself in her, and I could
get on some Slim Fast, and I could dye my hair too if I wanted to.
No, but I saw myself. I saw my complexion, and I saw something that like I could try to be.
Okay.
I could try to be a leader. I could try to be strong. I could try to have silver hair, because eventually this is gonna go silver because hormones, right? Like, I could see pieces of Storm and go, I could be that. I could never be the Countess. I could never be the Baroness, right? I could never be Scarlet. I wasn't going to have red hair. I wasn't going to be white. I wasn't going to be thin. And I wasn't going to be athletic. Like, I could never be those things. But for me, Storm was, especially with her relationship with Kitty Pryde, because she was really much more of a mom and a place of safety. I emotionally connected with that character because I could see myself in that character. And that's really what I want to get to is, with this idea of heroes that look like me, is that when you have or you see yourself represented in the positive light, or at least a very fictitious, idolized version of yourself, but when you see it actually come to life in a media form that you didn't create, that somebody else saw that, I think for me, it kind of translated into, okay, other people see that people that look like me can be leaders, can be gorgeous, can be heroes, can be virtuous and places of safety, and can be the good guy, and can be fragile, and can be in love, because up until that point, again, I'm 9, so there's a whole bunch of movies I'm not watching, so I haven't seen Black Love until I saw T'Challa marry Ororo Monroe. Like, that was the first.
Oh yeah, that's right. If you didn't know, she becomes the queen of Wakanda.
Yes. Yes.
Spoilers if you didn't know.
Yeah, it was like, and it was a big deal. Like, it was thought of, at least in the Marvel world by the creators as like, this was like Charles and Di getting married. So like they had like, a, I forget what the hell his name was, but one of the guys who had done like costuming for soap operas for CBS designed the dress for Storm to wear in this comic book. Like that was unheard of.
Yeah.
Like it was a huge deal, but it's a big deal that Storm actually marries T'Challa. And not only that, but it's not perfect either. It's not like a storybook and they lived happily ever after. Like they go through some shit and they end up having to separate because like everything in Wakanda was like, okay, well, you're the queen now, so you can't be an X-Men anymore. You can only be the queen. And oh, by the way, the queen only does these things with T'Challa. And so like that's what it is. And Storm was like, eh. I'm going to pause you there because I've actually been a deity in my tribe, and I also still believe in like helping the world. So,
got a problem here.
I'm going to be your queen because I love T'Challa and some shit, but I'm also going to be an X-Men and do this other stuff. So, Bast, you can just like calm your shit, bless us all, and we're going to do it. And it ends up being a really difficult thing even for T'Challa to accept. So basically they kind of go on a break.
It's like, hey, we're pausing your queen status for like some time so you can like sort yourself out.
Pause your queen status. This is one of the things that was so baller. T'Challa's like, okay, cool. I'm going to take some time. I'm going to dip over to America for a little bit. I'm just going to figure myself out. You go ahead. You do your X-Men thing. You're still the queen. We're still a couple. I just got to figure some stuff out. So I'm going to bounce over here. And she's like, cool.
Oh, is that during the whole like White Panther with
It's just on the back end of that. So okay. Then they're basically on hiatus, but they're still a couple. Storm's just like, all right, cool. You're going to figure yourself out. You're going to come back together. Whenever you come back together, it's going to be cool. It's going to be tight. And
be safe.
Basically, you skip forward a bunch of fucking stories, and there's a crisis that pops up that basically requires the Avengers to step in along with X-Men to fight what's happening. And it's the first time in like a couple of, I can't remember, I think it's like 2 or 3 years that they come back together because the X-Men are helping the Avengers and Black Panther has joined the Avengers. And Storm finds out that, oh yeah, while they were separated, T'Challa was like figuring out shit. He annulled their marriage, so they're not married anymore. And she's like, I'm paraphrasing, but it was like, bitch, what?
Wait, how'd he manage to get that all through the legal channels without
and Wakanda, he can do whatever he wanna do.
Like, and we're not.
Basic, and so they have this like really deep, raw, like back and forth, and tears are streaming down both their faces, and it just gets to a place where it's just like, I love you, I know you love me, but this wasn't meant for us to be us, and you need to be great and do your thing and not worry about me or harming me, just like I need to be great and go and do my thing. And so it's just best that we pretend, well, not pretend, but it's just best that we leave this where it was as it never was. And like he walks off and she's just like crumbled and broken and crying, and I'm just like, God damn. But it wasn't like a you betrayed me or I dipped out and got a second.
It was a mutual thing.
Real mutual end of that love. And I've never seen that in a story. So, for me, like when anybody's ever like, okay, what's the thing that like made you a nerd or a geek, or like what's like, one character that you love from like, I don't have to think. I know who it is, and I know the reasons why, and how much that gave me just from a comic book when I was 9 all the way through my life. Like when they first announced that they were going to do X-Men movies, as you well know, I was like, I'm here for this.
Yes.
Who is Storm? I didn't care who anybody else was. Who is Storm? And then they're like, Halle Berry. And I'm like, Mm.
Now, here, I'm gonna say this.
Yeah, go ahead.
Because
Speak your mind. This is a free place. Bring your ideas to the table.
Halle Berry is an actress.
Halle Berry.
And she's not, and she's a good actress. There's a lot of things I love her in.
I agree with you.
Not this.
No.
And the only reason why, because in my mind, like when I see all those comic book iterations of Storm, one, I've always envisioned her to be an older woman.
Yep.
Like, I don't imagine her a 26-something Sex in the City type of woman. I saw her as an older, maybe like 49, 50, like has lived a life.
But yeah, she's
but
older.
But I'm just saying, more mature, wise.
How you imagine.
Grounded. Because of all of her life experience. Mm-hmm. So in my mind, Storm has always been Angela Bassett. Always.
Yeah. At the point time that first X-Men movie came out, if they had made Angela Bassett Storm.
And I know for a fact that she could do it because she was in Coven. You know, American Horror Story Coven as like a voodoo.
Yeah, but Coven came out after that. Let me give you an example of something.
But I'm just saying, like she gave that essence.
But, and I was like, when you're casting, so this is the argument that I was getting with people, is that when you're casting, you have to think of what have people seen at the time.
Right.
To prove that they could do that, right? And so Coven came after, so you can't use Coven as like, you saw her in Coven. At the time that they were casting that movie, that didn't exist. However, what did exist was a movie called Strange Days that she was in. Not a lot of people saw this movie. You should see this movie.
Okay.
Everybody should see this movie. It's got Tom Sizemore in it. It's got Angela Bassett, jacked as shit, in it. And it also has Ray Fiennes.
Okay.
And basically, it's about, you know, it's an action movie, though. She basically plays a driver/bodyguard in the movie. I mean, cock diesel, muscle upon muscle jack, braided out. Okay. I don't want to give away the whole story, but she's a badass. She's doing car stunts. She's doing gunplay. She's doing action. And that movie proved that she could be a badass, carry a scene, and do action.
So, but yeah, in my mind, it's always been Angela Bassett.
At that point in time.
At that point. Now, with the... with Apocalypse, because it's a movie, it happened. When they started playing around with the younger Storm, I heavily was like, ooh, Lupita Nyong'o with a mohawk, like maybe, like I felt like Little Jitter was like, ooh, maybe she could ascend.
Yeah, but wasn't Black Panther filming at the same time that?
Yes, and she was yes. Yeah. So yes, but I was like, ooh, if they hadn't already put her here, totally would have been in the running for that.
Yep.
Head over heels. And I know that since then there was, I think, I want to say like a couple of weeks ago, maybe even a month ago, there was an article going around with where they put another lady's name in the ring who could potentially be Storm, and just seeing this woman, I was like, oh my God, why wasn't she?
Well, let's talk about this, because this is one of the things that I wanted to bring up about Storm, is that there's talk going around, again, of rebooting X-Men. Again, movies-wise. Because the comics have already been rebooted.
Isn't that more or less now because, like, Marvel kind of like, come back?
Well, it's because it's all Disney now, because Disney has Marvel. However,
Company came in and said, mine now.
However, you still have a slight split because of the last X-Men movie that went out. X-Men, because Marvel didn't make the best choices initially, and it's because they didn't know if the movie studios were going to work or not. they licensed out separately, independently, Spider-Man and then X-Men, right?
But isn't
Spider-Man,
Spider-Man also
Sony,
half Sony? And
that's who they
Sony and Marvel was
licensed it to.
having?
That's who they licensed it to. And the way that the contract was written is as long as Sony put out a Spider-Man movie, I think it's every 3 years, they would remain the sole entity that could make Spider-Man movies. If they let that lapse, then it would return back with some money exchanged to Marvel Studios if they still existed. And they made a similar deal with X-Men with Fox. That's why X-Men was a Fox movie. However, guess who bought Fox? 20th Century. Disney. So now they have to basically undo the paperwork within themselves, but it is back to being in the same house.
In the same column, like not the same heights, but in the same column.
They're in the same townhouse, they're just on different floors.
Got it.
Okay. Eventually they'll all be on the same floor, right?
Oh man.
So there is a conversation because at one point the X-Men movies were quite popular and profitable.
Yes.
To do them again over now that we are so far away from the original Halle Berry and
but they can't touch Phoenix because they've already kind of reshot themselves in the foot with Dark Phoenix.
I just redo it. You just do another one and you make the other thing not canon. Okay, that's what you do. If your reboot is better than your other thing, then you make the other thing not canon and it didn't happen.
But they made her too young in this Dark
Not Dark Phoenix. That's a different cast. We're talking about Storm right now.
Okay.
So the idea is to make new X-Men movies and to recast. And the thought process is, hey, last time we went down this road, and this is part of my problem with the original X-Men movie, right? Was that they didn't decide before they went into the movie real hard what they were going to do with Storm, since they were going to do Blue Team. Okay, because Blue Team is the team that Cyclops runs.
Right.
Okay, and the reason that there are two teams isn't just because there's so many, well, part of the reason is there's so many mutants, but Gold Team got certain assignments, Blue Team got other, and Storm and Cyclops actually had a fight to determine who was stronger and who was going to lead Gold Team, and Storm won. Okay, so in the universe of Marvel, basically Storm is pretty much next to Jean Grey.
Okay, I was about to say, because
next to Jean Grey, thus believed to be the strongest mutant in that, at the time, known universe, right? So for me, as a Storm fan, to see Storm basically relegated to like 5 lines and this shy, docile thing over in the corner.
Timid thing was like, oh, let me put some cloud cover. Clouds. No, that's not who Storm was.
Absolutely, and it made no freaking sense. Okay, and then because everybody was like, oh, Rebecca Romijn in the suit, then
don't get me wrong, Rebecca Romijn minus the Stamos, pretty hot Mystique.
Yeah, definitely hot Mystique, but Mystique wasn't the focus of
right. Well, I mean, I know, but she is sexy blue blip.
She's sexy blue blip, but I got nothing against the sexy blue blip. But the thought process now is if they reboot in a definite way to make sure that it is different and separate from the previous movies, is a focus more on Gold Team and a focus more on those X-Men, which Gold Team is Forge and Colossus and, Jean Grey. You know what I mean? So if you're going to do that, then you absolutely have to have a Storm that is worth it. Now, one thing that I think is really interesting, that you bring up is that there has been this campaign that's primarily been fan run right now. And the one that I love the most was a group of people who want Dominique Jackson to be Storm. If you're not familiar with Dominique Jackson, do you live under a rock? I don't understand. Dominique is the mother of House Wintour on Pose. If you watch Pose on FX, which,
I am starting it, so
yeah, so watch that. But Dominique is an amazing, amazing actress, but she has the
that
gravitas.
gravitas.
Does, and she has the figure and is imposing. You know, when you get into the second season, like, she makes her money as a dominatrix. Like, she can bring it in the way that Storm should be regal and powerful.
Have that hint of untouchability. Like,
yes, but also that touch of there is some vulnerability there, you know, and I've seen Dominique play that in Pose, so I know that she can do it. Now, there have been other conversations. I saw an article in Vanity Fair that Janelle Monáe is just waiting for somebody to ask her to be Storm, and I'm just like,
don't get me wrong, because I love me some Janelle Monáe.
Look, I love me some Electric Lady.
I don't think she has the right frame.
She doesn't have the right frame. She's too small.
And I mean, and it's not also that, but I mean, she's got some good chops, because like she was in Hidden Figures.
She's a very good actress.
I haven't seen Antebellum yet, but I want to see her in Antebellum to see if she can do like.
I love her. She's too small.
But she's tiny.
She's too small.
And I mean, her voice powerful. Like her voice, if her was a body, her voice would be banging. Like her voice would have the support. But that's not what.
Look, there's plenty of other people in the Marvel universe that Janelle could be, and be amazeballs at it. Hell, she'd make it amazing. If you want to just switch the script, she'd make a bananas ass dope Green Lantern.
Wait, was there a female Green Lantern?
Yes.
I didn't know.
Yeah, there's a beautiful thing about the Lantern Corps. They're all across the universe and all races and people. And yes, there's dope ass.
Okay, I believe you. I didn't read it. I didn't know. I now learned something new today.
So there are other places that she can play. This one's not for her. And this one, you know, it's not for Janelle, and it's not for.
What about Tessa Thompson?
She's already Valkyrie.
I know, but like, she kind of imposing.
But
like
already Valkyrie, so she's already somebody in the Marvel universe.
Yeah,
that's the problem. If Tessa wasn't already Valkyrie, which spoiler alert, guys, once we get through everything with the Infinity War and Thanos is killed, Thor fucks off and makes her the leader of Asgard. So you can't have her.
Well, they kind of did that at the end of you kind of see that she's effectively running it. And I mean, I totally think she's.
Like, you need a leader. And he's like, I think the leader is you. And she's like, don't do this. Are you serious? And he's like, yeah. She's like, I'm going to make some changes.
And now we're going to get Thor Something of Love. And now we're going to get Lady Thor. So we're going to get Portman and Tessa, possibly, yeah.
I think that, you know, the story that they've lined up for that, those comics were absolutely amazing. I read about 4, maybe 5 of them digitally, and it was a great story. So it has the fodder to be a great movie. But bringing it back, like, if you're going to do X-Men Gold, your Storm has to be an imposing leader figure, and she has to be physical, because a lot of the stuff that the Gold team goes through are hefty on fights. I mean, like, she's running around with Colossus, and she's got a similar, you know, as far as like statuesque. Like, you can't have somebody small playing that role. It has to be somebody big. I mean, again, I love Janelle Monáe, but like, look at X-Men Gold. Like, Janelle Monáe is not.
I don't even think her shoulders are that.
Like, that's too much shoulder padding to try to get her there. That's
but
just
anyway.
too much. you know? So,
There is
and
something out there for you, Janelle, just not there.
there are so many things. This one ain't it. You're not gonna get the call, sis.
And that's okay.
And that's okay. It's all right. It's not for you. It's cool. There's so much more that I could talk about on Storm, but I'm gonna shut up because I need to give you like some time to
Okay.
talk. But my number one hero that looks like me, that just is the embodiment of representation in media that I choose to absorb, is Storm. I love that character. I'm grateful that she exists, and in whatever form people want to continue telling her story, I'm down for it.
Okay. So, the person I want to bring up today is completely on the polar opposite side of my sisters. And I mean, don't get me wrong, Storm is very near and dear to my heart as well. We grew up in the same house, so like that love and appreciation is shared both ways, probably a little bit more passionately with you than with me, but still very much love me the Storm. But
how can you not?
But sometimes not all heroes wear capes, right?
That's true.
And I mean, Storm always had like that weird like pseudo cape, like in her black costume, like she had a little one, the little cape, little curly one, and then in her white one, she had like the very imposing long white flowy with the wrist things, like all about that. Love me Storm fashion. But anyway, but not all heroes wear capes, and sometimes your hero's gonna come in the weirdest of places when you least expect them to show up. And I mean, Disney was very big in our home. We loved us some Disney.
Yes, you did.
I mean, I still very much like, I'm not a Disney file, but like I do love me some Disney. And growing up, the big commonality in Disney is that there were no princesses that looked at all like me. I think
True.
I mean, we got Pocahontas. I mean,
she was call that chick Pokey.
I mean,
you don't know her like that.
I'm just saying, we had Pocahontas, who was, statuesque and colors of the wind, and oh my God, my hair will never look bad no matter what I do. No. Black women have to work for their beauty, okay? It don't come that natural.
But she went Indian.
I know, but I'm just saying. But when Pocahontas came out, I was like, all right, I guess this is as good as it's going to get. And I sat on that like, yay, okay, this is it. And then we got Mulan, and then I was like, ooh, empowerment.
Mulan was dope.
And I was like, ooh, like I want to take that nugget, and for a long time we did not have a Disney princess. We women of color, as in brown women, because obviously, apparently Mulan is considered a Disney princess.
Yes.
Even though she's not, if you watch the movie, she's not descended from royalty. She doesn't marry royalty. I mean, she did get a deep bow from the emperor.
Yeah.
But like, she's technically not. But Disney's like,
technically not a princess.
But Disney stamped her princess, so be it.
Hey, she's the lead of this movie for the whole thing, so Disney princess. Because she's a girl.
Well, I mean, actually, the technical thing that makes you a Disney princess is you wear a dress, and you have a sidekick, a animal sidekick.
Well, shut up, Disney princess.
Which is why technically Moana does not count, because her outfit is not a full dress.
But Moana is a Disney princess.
No, she's not. If you actually look it up, she is not an official Disney princess. Disney has not officially ordained her a princess yet.
Well, that's some bullshit, because she had hey.
And technically, Elsa and Anna also not officially Disney princesses, because they didn't have an animal sidekick. Olaf is Snow. Mm-hmm. So they have their two cardinal rules. So, but regardless, and I mean, I love me Tiana, and actually, I mean, Tiana kind of shares this line that I'm gonna walk on. Okay. But my first full absorption of, oh my God, here's a character that looks like me, that portrays ideals that are very similar to mine. came out of Disney, and it was Penny Proud from the Proud Family.
Okay.
So, when you had your Quack Packs, your Darkwing Ducks, your Rescue Rangers,
which color you call DW?
your Goof Troops, your Quack Pack, and like you like to play with the animals because you can get away with never having to say, oh hey, this is a black duck and this is and granted, the new DuckTales is actually pseudo addressing that type of stuff, which I really like. If you haven't watched the new one, I suggest that you do it. They do a really great job. But you didn't get a lot of black families on TV. Like before Proud Family, yeah, we had Family Matters, which was essentially in my mind just a black Full House.
By the way, I'm still upset. Whatever happened to that other sister? Are we still not talking about her? Okay. All right. So okay. All right. So we had the Winslows, we had the Huxtables.
Right. And then obviously we had like Good Times. We had Fat Albert, but like there were so many big chunks in between all of those. So for a while we did not have it was Family Matters, and that was essentially it. And don't get me wrong, love me some Family Matters.
Yeah, but that also didn't last very long either, because that Friday night block died fairly quickly.
And as much as I loved Family Matters, I probably aligned more with Urkel than with Laura. And for obvious reasons, but still, I liked it. It was nice that I had like a little basket, but I still didn't feel super comfortable in that basket. Right. You know what I mean?
Right.
But then the Proud Family shows up on Disney in the 90s, opening song by Destiny's Child. Like you hear Beyonce with her,
Don't be like that. That's not.
I love Beyonce, but I'm just saying this is like Beyonce in the height of Destiny's Child. I think they still technically had 4. They weren't 3 yet when they did it. But and you hear that all sweep in, and the opening shot of you seeing all the family members of the Proud Family, and the fact that their name is Proud, here they are, and proud to be it, right? And this was the most loud and proud that I've seen any human character in Disney ever at this point. And and I loved all the stories, because all the stories, in their very careful way, lightly talked about, colorism, slightly.
Yep.
And financial differences, because Penny Proud, not necessarily coming from a super rich family, but definitely better off.
Yep.
And she has this rivalry with one of the other girls who actually I think is black and Spanish. And she's got an attitude, but she's got money, and she thinks money will solve everything, and it doesn't. And they're constantly at ends until finally, I think second season in, they resolve their beef, and then them and 2 other girls form a super group, Destiny's Child, but whatever. But it talked about those things, and then it talked about that family dynamic that I think, as much as I love the Cosby Show, outside of
things.
The Cosby Show did talk about stuff, but I think they were very careful about how they were going to get that, here's the life lesson of the day, kids, in it, right? They had to be able to dance that thin line, because if they became too controversial, that could get it shut down, and they didn't want to do that.
Right.
And the Proud Family, they went there a lot of the times, and and on a family network that already has a very rigorous, rule chart of how shows last. But here was this slice of pie that not everyone was going to get. It was made for us. It legit was made for us. And if other people could get on board with it, well then good for you. But if you didn't, that's okay, because you know what? This one's mine, and that's okay.
Right.
I loved it, because I also feel we lived in a very diverse city, but granted, there was a big line of demarcation in our city also. So I personally didn't meet a lot of people who looked like me until high school.
Yeah.
Like, we got sprinklings of it in elementary school, a little bit more in junior high, but I didn't see the throng of folks until high school.
Right.
So, and when I did encounter them, I was so excited. I was like, oh, here are my people.
Mm-hmm. See,
But
this is where our situations are very, very
very
different because
different.
I had the inverse. So I had more diversity, not that there was a lot, but I had more diversity in my elementary and junior school, especially, than in my high school because I went to a private Catholic high school
Right.
and you went to
Public.
public.
Yeah.
And not only public, but you went to the public school actually in our district,
Mm-hmm.
which did have
Yeah.
more people that looked like us.
So, but I mean, when I was coming through, there weren't that many.
Mm-hmm.
So our experiences are different there. But like I said, when I hit high school and I saw all these, I was like, oh, here they are. Like, oh, all I had to do was just get here. And granted, when I got there, and here I am like, oh, like we should have all these things that we should have in common, and we didn't.
Mm-hmm.
And I met a lot of adversity with that, because to a lot of them, I was an Oreo. I talked the way I talk. I didn't seem to have the same kind of backstory that a lot of them did.
Right.
So because I have 1 out of 3 ain't enough.
Right.
It's not. And I got ostracized for that. And, the thing that I remember going through high school that really kind of helped bridge some of those gaps with some people, because I did make some friends that looked like me in high school, was our love for the Proud family. Because like, oh yeah, it's like, I got a cousin who did stuff like that. Like DeAndre, yeah, I got a cousin who's like that, who has her hair dyed and was just like, I'm going to be how I'm going to be, and either you like it or you don't. Like, and it was nice that there was this bridge that I've been looking for my whole life. And Disney, granted, I mean, Proud Family was around for a little bit, but it's not around now. I'd love to see them reboot it now, but I know that probably isn't coming, so I'm not going to hold my breath.
Yay!
But it was so nice to see a snapshot of a multiracial, mostly Black family then reimagined for me in the 90s. Because don't get me wrong, love me the Cosby Show, but that was a Black family of a different generation.
Right.
And this was more of my generation. So I was like, oh, I can relate to this better. I relate to this more. And I mean, and Penny always stuck up for what she thought was right. Granted, sometimes there was some scheming. Like sometimes there's a scheme or two.
Yep.
We all lived through that. And I was like,
you gotta make your money. How you gonna make your money?
Well, I mean, she like in school, so like,
but
you got your hustle. You want to get into the talent show, and you know that if you could get this person to be your friend, you have game recognized game.
You gotta recognize.
But I yearned for her friend unit. Like, because I mean, even people she didn't seem to really get, like, when it came down to it, they all came together to get shit done. And I was like, that's what I want. And that's what you want in your hero. You want someone who can unite people. And I felt like Penny Proud did this in her show. I mean, and she had her growing moments with her family, because, families, we have an idea of what families are supposed to be like, and not everybody's family is like that. And this show didn't shy away from, problems in the home. Like they went there as much as Disney would allow them to go there. But they didn't make it like, oh, this is a perfect family. No, they were a family. There were problems. And they had to address those. And it was nice to see that. I wish they did it more. So, I mean, so my big goes to the Proud family, particularly Penny, because she was kind of the focal point relaying all this to us. She was our vessel in which to walk through this universe. But, like, damn.
I think it's just so interesting, in listening to you talk about Proud Family and Penny and, just some of the things that were going on in the show, that was just far enough removed from me that wasn't one of the shows that, like, I grew up on, because like at that point,
Yeah.
I think by the time that you were watching Proud Family, I want to say that
I mean, I was also probably watching anime around that time too, so.
right, but I'm just trying to think of like when Proud Family came out, because like when did it come out? Because
So,
I have
well,
a
I'm trying to think in
feeling.
terms of lineup because I do remember I would watch Goof Troop first and then Proud Family because Proud Family was more of a late afternoon evening show, so like it came out around like 4.
Yeah, I'm just trying to think of like what year, because I'm
I
trying to
want,
figure out if like I had already moved out and was married at this point.
I mean, probably. Um, I'm
Because
gonna
that
get.
would put it at 98, 99.
I'm sitting in that time frame.
Okay.
But there she was, and effectively there I was. So the fact that this show could exist, I'm like, oh, Black people can be in Disney, and I'm like, and if we have Penny Proud, we'll eventually get a black princess. Granted,
And
we
then we
got
did.
well, not until 2016,
Look, and
but
we didn't say fast.
but because we had a positive experience with the Black experience, granted through Disney Vision, it paved the way for Tiana, who has a lot of the same attributes, works really hard, cares very much about her family. You know, I mean, Tiana does put her family and her goals above, well, I mean, puts her goals above everything else, but that's a staple in a lot of Black women's pockets. You know, you reach for the planets so that you can fall among the stars. You know, and and Tiana is a big example of that. All she wanted was this restaurant that it's the only thing her and her dad ever dreamed of. So if she was going to do anything with her life, it was going to get this restaurant come hell or high water. You know, granted, there's some mysticism and turning into a frog and meeting a prince. And I mean, but that prince was
Just
broke. So,
water.
but I mean, right. Very much so. But, I love that the Princess and the Frog, the prince doesn't come in and save her at the end of the day. It was a group.
He got no money.
Right. Well, it's not even about that because it was also him learning to be a man and not fall.
Yeah.
Him stepping out of his privilege and realizing that his privilege, while it has afforded him so many things, it also didn't afford him a lot of other things. So the things that he was rich in, she wasn't, and the things that she was rich in, he wasn't. So together they made this united front. And I love that. Like I am a ride or die Tiana princess fan because she had a goal before she became a princess, and then even after she became it, still opened the restaurant, still cooks, and is still down to earth. Like the stature didn't uproot her from Louisiana to a beautiful mansion. No, she stayed in her community to lift it up because it was important to her. And it was obviously important to Naveen because he also stuck around. Like he found value in that. And once again, heroes unite people and bring people out of their comfort zones to create this beautiful new thing. And both of these characters have done that, both to young Amanda and also 36-year-old Amanda today. So
let me ask you this question. When you think about across all the different mediums, right? The heroes that resonate with you. And then you add on the layer of, okay, now how many of them represent either my culture and community or someone else's culture and community? Are you hopeful for the future because it appears to be growing? Or do you hope in the future that it grows?
So, I mean, if you look at it like a flower, like a plant, we put the seed in. For a while there, you don't think you've done it right because you don't see anything. Because it's all, if anything's happening, it's happening down on the ground. And you don't see it until actually all the hard work is done, right? So we've planted this seed. And for years, we have not seen anything.
Right.
And then, Cosby Show, little sprig. Angela from Boy Meets World, another little sprig. Proud Family, bigger sprig. Tiana, I'm going to say bloom flower. But I mean, so there has been growth. I mean, I wish there was a way that we could enrich the soil to speed that process, but there is a process there, and I acknowledge that it's present. So it's not a matter of hope. I just would love to find a way to better define that process so that we could see the fruits of our labor much quicker than we have now. And I mean, I think we're kind of seeing that because now we're seeing, stories like Moana's story, where once again, we're now not doing the whole a man's going to come through and make all your women problems go away. No. It should never have been about that because, I mean, don't get me wrong. Like, there are heroes out there. Yep, there are heroes that are dudes and they do come in and they save the day. But at the end of the day, they might come in and save you from that burning building. But did they help you get your job? After your house burnt down? Did they help you get that house back?
Did they call Allstate for you?
Right. So, like, while they are the big flashy hero movement, there's this unspoken hero moment of when you pick yourself up from the bottom and you start all over. Okay. And those stories are now slowly becoming more prominent in our media. Like, there's a show, I think it's on Netflix, The Raising of Dion, which I think I've talked a little bit about, I think on the Week Down, where this mother is raising her son who has special abilities. She first thinks he's lying because he's, like 6. No, he's like 5. So, like, yeah, it's maybe his imagination, but he actually does. And this mother who, lost her husband, who was Michael B. Jordan, which is sad. My heart wept for her when I found out her husband was Michael B. Jordan.
I would be for anybody
who lost to have. I can see why you're in mourning, girl. Be in mourning.
Pour a little out for the homie.
Wear your black, girl. I got it. I understand. I mourn with you. But when she finally realizes, oh no, he really does. Like this mother who first wants to freak out. She wants to be like, I can't do anything about this, and this hero moment is her going, nope. Okay. So this is the reality. I need to help my son, learn how to control this, understand this. And then, even though he's little, have to decide whether or not that even with this responsibility and these powers for him to actually do that good. So like, here's this unspoken mother moment, this motherly hero moment that, might have been scattered in comic books, but maybe not fully addressed. And here it is front and center. Like, hey, for every great superhero, there was a family before that in some cases, and here we're showing you just how much fighting happens that doesn't get put on the nightly news, So like those stories really gravitate with me because those are very human feelings, very human, elements in anybody's life where you have to overcome that fear of that fight or flight. What are you going to do? So in our own right, we're all heroes. We all have stories where we have overcome, maybe got beaten around a little bit, but got right back up and went at it again.
Right.
And I think if we saw more stories like that, people would feel like they'd feel more empowered because they'd be like, that's an everyday thing.
Because I think that's one of the things that we take sometimes a little bit for granted. And
I agree.
Is that, the hero story and why representation in hero stories really does matter and means so much is because they are empowering. Even when in your mind you abstract, okay, this is a work of fiction, it's not actually, real or based on history, separate from when there are those hero stories of history, right?
Right.
When you separate all that out, it does something to you to see a positive story, to see someone overcome an obstacle and achieve a good or do a good, help someone else. It does something to you to not only empower you, but I also like to think that, it does kind of refill the soul, right? The feel good stories make us feel good.
Right.
And hero stories are the ultimate feel good story, right?
And I mean, and it's not a matter of, just this ultimate good, always doing good. Like, I think the hero story, it has to have that ebb and flow of, will they actually achieve that good?
There has to be an obstacle, and the hero has to do some kind of soul searching quest thing, something to overcome the obstacle, that we get to bear witness to them overcoming the obstacle, and ultimately then you get the
I mean,
good.
ultimately, the obstacle is always going to be fear.
Always.
Fear of not succeeding, right?
Fear of not succeeding, fear of themselves, lack of internal, fortitude, courage, whatever you want it, but it's usually some emotional thing. It's not just get over the wall.
And that is the most human thing that
right, because we all go, because we
all
can all
have
understand it. We all go through it, have gone through it, we'll go through it again.
Right.
Understand it. And so when the hero can do that and be the hero, we feel good about that.
Then in the back of your mind, like, then I can be a hero too.
And I can be a hero too. And so when this hero that walks through that and accomplishes that looks like you, or sounds like you, or has
the same ideals and ideologies as you,
or the ones that you yourself want to have and embody, and they go through that journey, a part of you feels like you go along on that journey again.
Absolutely.
In the abstract. And that does something for people. Like I've read all different kinds of interviews with successful business people and things like that, and one of the common threads that's always through them is when they start talking about what kind of leader they want to be, how very often many of them will name a comic book hero or a hero that they've read in a book or seen in a movie, and the ideal that they embodied and how they wanted that for themselves, or they saw that in themselves, and that's what inspired them to go and do the other thing. And so I think the idea that I would love for people to take away from this conversation is you are your own hero. I'm my own hero. But man, oh man, it is so powerful when you can look to the media you consume and see a hero that you want to see yourself in, or that you do see yourself in.
I think it's more of a do and not want, because I know growing up, I always wanted to be a Disney princess. I always kind of looked to Ariel because I could kind of sing, and I was like, she can sing. I can kind of sing sometimes. That was the closest I got for a long time. But even then, I never went to Halloween dressed up as Ariel, because that would get slapped down like that.
That's another podcast that we'll talk about.
That's a totally separate thing.
That's another.
But I'm just saying, as little kids, like you have the innocence to attach yourself to anything. But then when you get older, people start going, actually, really shouldn't be doing that. Like I said, separate episode. But the fact that I can now go to, Disney, and before be like, I guess I'll just watch Sleeping Beauty. I like to sleep. Who doesn't like to sleep? But I can go, Tiana, businesswoman, cares about her mama, cares about the town, just cares exponentially all the time. Maybe even to her own detriment, which is totally something I know I do in my life. Mm-hmm. Here is this vessel that I can fit into, and it fits perfectly because I've walked this. Mm-hmm. I walk this. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's the important one. So, in closing, representation matters, and having heroes.
It so matters, guys.
And having heroes that look like you matters, and it means a lot, and it means so much from a young age all the way into your adulthood. I am a 40-plus-year-old woman, and Storm, as you have heard, means a lot to me.
Yeah, don't misquote something and have her hear you, because she will be like, actually, sit down. Time for a lesson.
Okay. and has for a big chunk of my life, and from formative pieces of my years, and still informs some of how I carry myself, or how I look to carry myself, the types of things that I hold myself to as far as the kind of leader that I want to be. Absolutely. No joke, not an exaggeration. I hold myself up to that standard. If you come to my office where I work, there is at least three right now because I haven't brought one yet. But there are three pieces in my office that are storm related, including the original, like old school black and gold storm outfit uh, Barbie doll that Barbie did like a year ago or 2 years ago. They did a lineup. They did a Mystique and a Dark Phoenix. I have the Dark Phoenix one too. But Storm is in my office, displayed up very high. And I have a couple of Funkos of Storm that are in my office. And I'm trying to find the right uh, art to put up of her. I haven't found it yet on my wall. But it is for a reason, because to me, she is the embodiment of what everyone terms now as black girl magic that I didn't have a
Right.
crafty little hashtag for when I was 9 in 1988. But she is it. She is strong and still vulnerable and powerful and gorgeous and not in her own head about her gorgeosity, but instead is focused on how do I uplift and help those around me who are not powerful enough to do it for themselves with this amazing gift that I have. And
Yep.
that is something I think more people should ask. How do I uplift and make the world a better place for the people around me who don't have the skills or gifts that I have that I can use to do it? And man, how much better the world would be if we did that.
Now, I don't have any busts of Tiana in any type of capacity. However, when it's not there for you, you make it. So my tribute, particularly to her, and I actually will probably do this for Penny Power also, is I'm kind of really good at making clothes in Animal Crossing New Horizons because, I had to plug that today.
Don't hurt your arm while you pat yourself on the back.
But, there were a bunch of people cosplaying their favorite Disney in Animal Crossing in one of the groups I was in, and I noticed that they were all white people. And I was like, we got other folks in the Disney repertoire here. Like, I think somebody also did Brave, which I was like, thanks, that's good. But I'm like, I don't see any, and there are some black Animal Crossers. I'm a part of a black Animal Crossing group. And I'm like, but none of them are doing it. And I'm like, I wonder why. And I'm like, well, go fix that. And I went and I made 3 of the dresses that Tiana wears from The Princess and the Frog. And I'm very proud of them. And I go through my groups and I share them because you can post the dresses in other people's Able stores. And with everything going on now, a lot of people are like, "Ooh, if anyone of color has been making designs, I'd love to showcase them." And I went around and I dropped them, and everyone's like, "That is really good." And I'm like, I'm still learning, but we should have the ability to do this also. So I made these dresses so that we could have our fun and be a princess too. It's time. We've been waiting long enough. So, if it's not out there, maybe that means it's up to you to make it. Make that bridge.
So with that, it's time to wrap up this podcast. I hope that you have enjoyed the conversation, that you will help us continue to have conversations like this moving forward. Know that this is not the only heroes that look like me, or any time that we will talk about this. We will talk about it so much more because I got to talk about Grace Jones at some point in time. So that's just going to happen, and we're just going to have to live through that.
We're going to have to talk about Iman a little bit too.
Oh, a lot of bit. So many bits. But with that being said, make sure that you check us out here on Twitch. Give us a follow. We are working our way up to 50 because, man, oh man, the affiliate goal is in sight and we're charging head forward to it. So
help us achieve our goals, please.
Yes, help us achieve our goals. Give us a follow. Share us with your friends. Follow us on our social. You'll find out when we're doing casts and what the topics are going to be, but we do these every other Sunday here on our Twitch channel. You can follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Black Compat across all of those channels. We'll also be sharing great content on our website, some written pieces, as well as some video content. So make sure that you bookmark our website, blackandpat.com. And we are on YouTube, as I mentioned early on. All of our VODs, historically, all of our content will be on YouTube. We are working on actually organizing content as we put it out there. So Panda and my own Let's Plays, you'll find them there. Initially, we're going to be streaming them here on our Twitch. Twitch.
Probably here on Twitch first, and then if you can't happen to catch it live, which, life will do that, you can find it archived on YouTube.
And you will find it there, and we'll have all the Let's Plays organized into playlists. Okay, but there's also going to be some other content, some hot takes, because, sometimes we just got to get some stuff off our chest.
It's sitting there, and we need to expel it.
Like
Expelliarmus. Oh, God, let me not go into Harry Potter.
Don't. That's a different podcast. But we thank you all for joining us for the conversation, for being part of the community, for helping us amplify other voices, other ideas, and more. Just remember, as we always say, always and, never or.
Never or.
I'm Ro.
And I'm Manda.
Until the next time.
Bye, guys.
Bye.